When one gets into archaeology, the study of history, one cannot help but to wonder about all of the lost treasures and lost artifacts of the past. The Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, El Dorado, Atlantis, lost treasures, lost civilizations, lost artifacts, crystal skulls. Mayan and Aztec treasures, gold, gems, jewels. They boggled the mind. Out of all of these, the one that really piqued my interest was the Black Scorpion. It was an artifact that was said to have hieroglyphics inscribed on it and supposedly pointed the way to the treasures of the pharaohs of the 4th dynasty. Sneferu, Khufu, Khafra, Menkaura. The gold, the jewels, the treasures, it would have been limitless. I'd always had a thing for Egypt and Egyptian religion, spirituality, architecture, mythology. But the Black Scorpion especially, so it really stuck out to me. I'd always been interested in it and always felt drawn to it, and I wasn't sure why. I didn't know why. So after a while, I finally gathered the courage to lead an expedition, and of course the university was more than happy to bankroll it. Or maybe not so happy. Prepared an expedition, a team, and we flew out to Egypt. On the flight over, I couldn't help but to think about all of the attempts to locate this artifact. The Green Expedition back in 1943, the Renfield Expedition in 1962, the Aidan Smith Expedition in 1974 came close, but no cigar. Aidan Smith claimed he found a map of where the Scorpion was located, and the exact tomb they got to in the Valley of the Kings, and there's nothing there. There have been several attempts by Harvard, Princeton universities, and none of them came to fruition. None of them produced anything. Not a trace. Not even mentions of it in writing. Still, I look forward to it. I got a tip online from one of the assistant curators at the Cairo Museum. Had another connection that hinted it was somewhere outside of Cairo, but I was still somewhat skeptical. We flew into Cairo, gathered our equipment and all of our gear, and checked into the hotel for the night. In bed I laid there, reading a book on the pyramids. Khufu's pyramid, to be exact. I begin to notice something out the corner of my peripheral vision. There were scorpions crawling on my wall, on my ceiling. I'm not sure how they got in here because my doors were closed, my windows were closed, and they still kept flooding in. First there was a handful of them, then there were 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100. Hundreds of them. Along the walls and the ceiling, crawling towards me. Now thousands, big black scorpions. I grabbed the hotel phone. I dialed the front desk. I screamed. When I turned back, there was nothing there. Sir? Sir, are you there? Is there a problem? The receptionist asked. No. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to inconvenience you. I just thought I saw something, that's all. Well, if it's any interest to you, sir, this hotel's had some little bit of paranormal activity as of late, but nothing too major. Get some sleep. You need some rest. Thank you, sir. Hung up the phone. I shook my head. Why the hell did I see that? I wondered to myself. I wasn't really one to see things like that. Have visions or hallucinations or something crazy like that. That was just insane. I've never even heard of something like that. Thought on the subject a little more than I shrugged it off. Anyway, I'm just seeing things. Maybe I need to get some sleep. So I tucked myself in and tried to get some sleep. I woke up the next morning right as the sun was beginning to rise. My hotel balcony window was right next to the pyramids. Well, it's positioned toward the pyramids. The pyramids are about a quarter of a mile away. The sun just outlined the silhouette of the pyramids, and it just looked otherworldly. It was just so amazing to see. I opened my sliding glass door and walked onto my balcony. The wind rushing through. The warm sunlight beginning to rise above the horizon, outlining the silhouette of the massive structures. The gold, the black, almost seemed otherworldly. Then I went back to my room, got showered, got dressed, and headed down to get some breakfast with the rest of the crew. Nigel was eating some sausage, and Jennifer was drinking some orange juice. "Oh, Daniel, good to see you, chap. How'd you rest?" "All right, Nigel. You don't seem too enthused," said Jen. "I thought I saw something last night. It was really weird." "Well, this place is said to be haunted, Daniel." "I know. I called the front desk and asked him about it, but he mentioned the same thing. This place is supposedly supposed to be haunted." was about to carve into my waffles until I heard a scream. I looked over. This man came walking in covered in scorpions stinging him. Covered. There'd be hundreds of them just stinging at him. He fell to the floor dead. I got up out of my chair and screamed. I pointed. Jennifer and Nigel turned around, but there was nothing there. "Daniel, are you alright, chap?" whispered Nigel. "Daniel, you're beginning to worry me. You're beginning to stress me out. What's going on?" said Jennifer. "You guys didn't see that or hear that?" "No," Nigel said, shaking his head. It was right there. There was a man covered in scorpions. He was being stung by them. He fell down to the floor dead. And what?" said Jennifer. "Nothing. I'm just seeing things again." "Daniel, are you alright? Have you ever had a history of this?" "I don't know, Jen. I just... Well, how's everyone's breakfast going?" Tommy interjected, patting me on the shoulder. "Oh, Dan, what's up with you, man? You look tense. What's wrong? Did you sleep well last night?" "No, Tom, I've been seeing things in this hotel. I don't know why. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's weird." "You feeling okay?" he said, brushing his hand against my forehead. Yeah, Tom, I'm fine. Things are just weird right now for me for some reason." "Do you think you need to see a doctor?" he asked. Maybe later, I don't know. I just want to get on with the expedition." "Yeah, guys found that black scorpion, eh?" Say, Dan, Nigel, Jen, you don't think that what what Daniel is experiencing isn't, some type of hoodoo to keep us away from looking for the black scorpion? "Honestly, it's hard to say these days, chap," said Nigel. People are into all kinds of different things these days. All kinds of strangeness and weirdness. And God knows what else, whispered Jen. "Well, we're not going to let anything deter us from what we came here to do. So let's get to it," said Tom. I gathered with the others and met with other members of our team, and we headed out. First, we began excavating at the workers' quarters down at the base of the pyramids. We had an official license and were permitted to do work by the Egyptian government and the Egyptian class of antiquities, of course, but after about 6 or 7 hours of that day, we weren't finding much. And so, Tommy found something. There's an inscription in the base of a workers' quarters, about 20 feet underground. Read about the black scorpion. It's actually supposed to be underneath the Great Pyramid. "What do you make of this?" said Tom. I don't know, said Nigel. Could just be someone just messing around, but how would a worker know about the Black Scorpion? We deliberated amongst ourselves. How the hell are we going to get a permit to dig beneath the pyramid? I don't know, said Nigel. Guess we need to go to the Antiquities Department and ask the Egyptian government for further assistance and permits. So we did just that. We got rested after a long day's work and prepared to go to the Egyptian Department of Antiquities and the Egyptian government at the U.S. Embassy. We deliberated, spoke to the officials and the authorities, and to my astonishment, we were allowed to excavate. The Egyptian government had began to get more generous and liberal with their permits, and we should just happen to be lucky to get one. We made it out to the site, and we began digging. We dug and we dug. We hit several feet in. And 5 feet in. Until I saw a stone wall. Inscribed on it was the Black Scorpion. Alright, I nodded. We dug several feet more and nothing. Then the day came to an end. Went back to the hotel and got some sleep. Next morning, we showed up and we started excavating deeper. I was down there with a pickaxe at the bottom, ripping and digging through rock and sand and soil. Suddenly I fell through. I fell so quickly and so violently that the pickaxe actually flew out of my hand due to the sheer shock of that. Did I land on a trap door? Did I cave in the roof to an unknown tomb? What did I? The fall wasn't too bad, it was just... It felt like I was going down a slide. After I landed, I kept on going down and down and down. A few twists and turns. Then I finally made it to the base. I didn't know how far down I was. I was in pitch black darkness. I felt around. Stone, sand. Then reached for my pocket flashlight, began to examine the room that I was in. It was massive. I called out, "Hello!" I screamed for Tommy, Nigel, Jenna, and the others. There's a slight echo of my own voice, but after waiting for a minute or so, I'd never heard anything from them. was all by myself. I turned and looked at some of the walls in the gigantic room. I looked up and up and up. The ceiling was almost 100 feet high. I was in a gigantic room. On the walls I could see hieroglyphics inscribed. About the death of the pharaoh and what he must do, journeying through the underworld and into the afterlife. Having his heart weighed by Anubis, being judged one final time before entering the afterlife. And I saw the inscription of the scorpion. Big scorpion. It was supposed to... Be in this chamber, I thought to myself. Continued to look around. And there was this stone box of some kind, square. I looked at it. Checked for any indications of a trap of some kind, but couldn't find any. Quickly I lifted the box and the cube, rather. And there it was. The black scorpion. I shouted in victory. I wanted to call down the others, but they were too far gone. They were too far off. I turned back. The artifact was near this black obsidian. What was inscribed on it was interesting little tidbit. Said one's true treasure lies within. I picked up the artifact and took a look at it. But if you find yourself in search of gold, the gold is within yourself. And between here and the Nile. And that's all that was inscribed. Then I began to hear something. Strange sound. The impact of something against the stone and sand ground. Sound of something pointed and sharp, maybe. Something that was pecking against the... I turned in the direction of the sound. Other end of the chamber, going into a dark corridor. Turned on my flashlight. Of the corridor, this was a set of massive red eyes. About 12 feet off the ground. I didn't know what I was looking at. How can I? came closer and closer out of the darkness and into my flashlight. God! It was a giant humanoid thing. A chimera of sorts. A mixture of a man and a scorpion. The entity had the upper body of a man, but the lower body of a scorpion. Solid black. With no hair and a pair of red eyes. Hid the arms and torso of a man with the lower thorax and legs and stinger of a scorpion. I heard a hiss come from the entity. God in heaven, what the fuck is that? I thought to myself. It started to walk slowly towards me. It hissed. I turned away. I started to back away slowly. The monster hissed once more. I slowly began to back up. Quicker and quicker. Slowly began to back up. Slower and slower. This was something this was something of a nightmare. I couldn't, no, this can't be real. No. I shook my head. I smacked myself in the face a few times, trying to wake myself up, but there was no use. The giant monster began to get closer and closer to me. As it looked at me, it licked its lips. It hissed once more. I turned around and I booked it. I ran. The monster ran after me, hissing and roaring. I ran up the incline, the so-called slide that I was trying to navigate so early before, but it's hot on my trail. Heard a loud thud against the stone ground right behind me. I dared not look back. Another hiss. Several seconds later, another thud. Still dare not look back. Then I felt a gigantic hand on my shoulder. And another thud right over my head. Right on top of like a foot or so, right on top of my head. Jesus, it was a scorpion stinger. He's trying to fucking get me. Then he had me. Hand clenched around my shoulder, paralyzing me. Then I turned around. It turned me around rather than looked straight at me. The hiss. The red eyes. The licking of its lips. It then reached its hand out and motioned down to the black scorpion. It growled, showing its teeth, pointed incisors, and canines. It appeared it didn't want me, it just wanted the black scorpion, the artifact, back. said, "Okay." I slowly began to hand it back to the monster, shaking and sweating. I placed the artifact back into its massive black hand. It continued to stare at me, its giant mouth dripping with saliva, its humanoid face smiling, licking its lips, drooling over me. It rose its stinger, then looked at me sideways. It was almost as if the evil thing was deep in thought. Its hand released my shoulder, and its stinger pushed me up the rock wall, up the slide. Its face motioned for me to leave. Oh my God. So I, as fast as I could, I journeyed up the rock face, up the slide. Kept going and going. As I looked back, I noticed the giant scorpion man was walking back up down into the giant room and back down into the dark corridor. It took me a bit, but I finally made it back to the hole that I fell down. I called out for my colleagues, and they managed to jump up, and they were able to catch my hands, and pull me back out. "What'd you find in there?" shouted Tommy. "Well, I guess I know where the Pharaoh's treasures are buried now." "You found the Black Scorpion?" "Sort of." "What do you mean, sort of?" asked Nigel. "It was down there. I found it, but something else found me, and Daniel, what the hell happened?" I turned to Jim. "You don't want to know."